Tonight, the 2nd Congressional seat is up for grabs, and on Saturday, you decide who will replace Cedric Richmond. But before you head to the polls, hear from two of the candidates looking to win your vote. WDSU's Commitment 2021 Congressional Debate starts right now.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us. I'm Travers Mackel, and welcome to a special WDSU presentation. 15 people have qualified for Louisiana's 2nd Congressional District seat that was recently vacated by that man, Cedric Richmond, after he took a top advisor position in the Biden administration. To narrow down the field, we looked at several criteria, including this poll from Edgewater Research. That poll, taken during early voting, shows Troy Carter with 35%. Karen Carter-Peterson with 24%, Gary Chambers with 11%. The rest of the field, meaning essentially the other 12 candidates, came in at 16%, and then 15% of voters are undecided. We invited all three of those top candidates to be here. State Senator Troy Carter, the Democrat from Algiers, has declined. So here tonight are State Senator Karen Carter from New Orleans and Gary Chambers. Both are Democrats, and due to COVID-19 social distancing guidelines, we are doing this via Zoom. And before we get to questions, here's a quick look at the 2nd Congressional District. We should point out it covers a large portion of Orleans and Jefferson parishes. Then it snakes up the Mississippi River, grabbing portions of St. John, St. James, St. Charles, Ascension, Assumption, Iberville, and East and West Baton Rouge parishes. The winner will serve a 2-year term. Like I said, we're going to start with an opening statement from each candidate here. We're going to go alphabetically. So, Ms. Carter-Peterson, you have 1 minute to make an opening statement.
Well, thank you, Travers and WDSU, for hosting this forum. It gives me the chance to share facts about my public service, and it gives me an opportunity to discuss my proven track record of getting things done, like holding government accountable after Hurricane Katrina and fighting for Medicaid expansion to save lives. It also gives me the chance to lay out how I would fight as your Congresswoman to move our district forward with bold and progressive leadership, like getting more COVID-19 relief checks, passing Medicare for all, and ensuring a quality public education system that puts our children and teachers first. Look, this is a time of hardship and pain as we navigate this pandemic together. We have lost almost 10,000 Louisianians. Thousands are out of work. Houses have been foreclosed on and livelihoods have been lost. Thank goodness help is here. But we still have lots to do for our families and small businesses to weather this outgoing crisis. I want to be your Congresswoman that puts our district first. And I know that you should know that I won't be afraid to shake things up to get things done while bringing power back to the people, not the powerful few.
All right, there's the bell at 60 seconds. For our viewers, you will hear that when their time is up. Mr. Chambers, you have 60 seconds now to make an opening statement.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Number one, I am a father of a beautiful 11-year-old girl named Zoe, who is the reason why I fight and the reason why I know our community needs change. Louisiana ranks number 50 in the nation. We rank number 45 in healthcare, number 48 in education, number 50 in environmental quality, number 50 in crime, and number 50 in opportunity. Anybody telling you that we're doing a good job just isn't being honest. I'm 35 years old and a small business owner, and I believe that our best days are ahead of us if we change course and elect new leaders. If you vote the way you've always voted, you'll get what you always got. I look forward to going to D.C. to fight for Medicare for all, the Green New Deal, $15 an hour minimum wage, and progress for all of our people. We've got to create jobs and opportunities so our young people don't leave Louisiana to go to Dallas, Houston, or Atlanta. We can build a better Louisiana if we change course. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chambers, this question is for you. It's COVID relief. That is the biggest issue facing the people of Louisiana's 2nd Congressional District and really the state right now, the coronavirus pandemic. Just weeks ago, Louisiana's Democratic governor, a man that both of you have supported, peeled back restrictions. Mr. Chambers, in 60 seconds, do you support that decision? Was it the right thing to do?
I'm not going to question whether or not it's the right thing to do. That's the governor's decision to make right now. What I will say is that Louisiana is headed in the right direction as far as our COVID numbers. There are thousands of people being vaccinated right now. New Orleans is doing a great job getting folks vaccinated. And I think that we need to stay on the course to help our businesses recover, our schools reopen, as well as make sure that people have the health care that they need to move forward from this pandemic. People are struggling, and it's not time to debate what's right and wrong. It's time to get things done for people.
All right, Ms. Carter-Peterson, 60 seconds, same question. The governor peeled back restrictions in a minute. Was that the right decision? Was it the right thing to do?
I think it was. I think that we all have to be cautious. So I support the governor in peeling it back because we need our community to get going again and our economy to get going and kids back in school. The good news is that we had immediate relief that was offered by the Biden administration. But it's important that we continue this relief for working families and people who were suffering way before this pandemic. Look, 10,000 Louisianians are now dead from this virus, and they're out of work. Our families have been suffering. Small businesses in our community need a lot of support to weather this crisis. So I agree that the governor did the right thing, but help is here, and that's the good news. I'm going to continue to push in Washington $2,000 per month stimulus payments so that relief can continue to get in the hands of working people who have to pay bills and make ends meet and make sure they feed their kids. And I'm going to help to fight to get those small businesses back where they need to be, make sure that there's loan forgiveness and we get help for our restaurants. So I support the governor. I also support Mayor Cantrell in her efforts.
All right, this question is for you. And just so our viewers know, the timing is going to differentiate on some of these 60 second, 30 seconds, yes and no. Here's a 30-second answer for you all. If elected, one of you all or somebody else, whoever wins this seat, will take office in the late spring. In 30 seconds, what is your plan if more vaccine shots are needed for Louisiana by late spring or early summer? In 30 seconds, Ms. Carter-Peterson, what is your answer?
Well, the answer is that the good news is that they're manufacturing a whole host of more vaccines. And so it's important to open up more locations to make sure that those vaccines are getting into the communities that have, unfortunately, to date been left behind. I got an email just today from someone who's trying to open up a community center and another person who's trying to use their small business as a vaccination site out in St. John Parish, the Baptist Parish. And so my intent would be to fight to get more vaccines to New Orleans and throughout the district, Baton Rouge and the river parishes, to make sure it gets to our communities.
All right, same question, Mr. Chambers. If elected in 30 seconds, what is your plan to get more vaccine shots, if needed, to the 2nd Congressional District by late spring or early summer? Once again, 30 seconds.
Well, number one is to call Cedric Richmond, who's in the White House with the president, and say, hey, we need some more vaccines here in Louisiana. Number two, once those vaccines are brought here, to work with FQHCs and community partners to figure out how do we do mobile vaccination in communities so that people who have challenges with transportation and access can get the vaccinations that they need in our rural parishes, in the river parishes, and in some of our urban communities. People are going to need us to bring it to them rather than wait for them to come to us.
All right, here's a 60-second answer for you all, Mr. Chambers. So many working families right now are hurting due to the coronavirus pandemic. If elected, what is your plan to raise the federal minimum wage as Republicans stripped it out of the last stimulus bill? You have 60 seconds.
Well, I think that the Congress has to go and be bold about this. We have the White House, we have the House and the Senate, but we've also got to look at being creative again and putting it in another package that comes forward. It's going to be difficult to get the Senate to come on board with this, but I believe that we can get creative and get it done. It's about making sure we prioritize the people and we don't allow the rhetoric that Republicans say about businesses to suffer the defeat of this again, because the truth is we end up taking care of folks as American citizens when we don't pay them a livable wage. And so we've got to do something to defend and work for working class people. And a $15 an hour minimum wage is just that, the minimum.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Ms. Carter-Peterson, same question. So many working families are hurting due to the coronavirus pandemic. If elected, what's your plan to raise the federal minimum wage as Republicans stripped it out of the last stimulus bill? That was the question again. You have 60 seconds for your answer.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly disappointed that it got stripped out, but that doesn't deter me from fighting like I always have. I've filed bills to raise the minimum wage in the state legislature where I've been serving 3 times, 2014, 2016, and 2020. And I filed another one this year, and it's always been stopped by the Republicans. So this isn't new. But if you live in the wealthiest country in the world and work 40 hours a week, nobody should have to work 2 or 3 jobs to put food on the table and have a roof over their head. So a higher minimum wage will help to offset the job losses by expanding opportunities in new industries. And I support the gradual increase, as was said, $15 an hour by 2025. And this will be real, and it'll be a concrete anti-poverty program that will raise people out of poverty and lessen the burden on social services. And so that's what I'm going to be fighting to do, as I always have, to make this a policy priority.
All right, Ms. Carter-Peterson, we're going to start with you for this question. Healthcare is a big issue in this district. What's your plan for healthcare benefits? Many Democrats support Medicare for all. In 30 seconds, what is your stance?
Yeah, well, I am proud to support Medicare for all. I think that healthcare is a human right, not a privilege. That's why I would co-sponsor Congresswoman Jayapal's Medicare for All bill in the House, which is supposed to be introduced yet today. And I'm proud to have the endorsement of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which she chairs. And I think that's the best way to achieve universal health care, is through a single-payer national health insurance program like Medicare for All. That provides quality care at no cost. Let me say this: the unemployment crisis during this pandemic has that's been brought on by COVID-19 has made it really clear that we can't tie healthcare to employment.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Carter-Peterson. Mr. Chambers, same question. What is your health care plan? I'll repeat the question. Many Democrats support Medicare for all. In 30 seconds, what is your stance on this issue?
I support Medicare for all. I believe that in the richest country on earth, every citizen should have access and the ability to get health insurance. We've got to expand not only physical health care, but mental health care for people. Louisiana has a large population of people who need those services. And Medicare for all is going to give us the opportunity to build an equitable system where every person in this country can get health care. And that's so critically important.
All right, we're going to start this question with you, Mr. Chambers. If elected, how will you get more money to so many struggling small businesses in your district? You have 60 seconds.
Well, we've got to work with our federal partners and have discussions about our PPP loans and what we've done with that. One of the things I think we should do is make it a grant rather than a payment back to our small businesses. That helps keep money in their pockets from those who have benefited from the PPP loans. We've also got to look at how do we get our economy back open. The fastest way we can help small businesses is get folks vaccinated and get our economy back open. People aren't looking for a handout necessarily. They're looking to get back to work.
All right, Ms. Carter-Peterson, same question. If elected, how do you get money to struggling small businesses in the 2nd Congressional District? 60 seconds for your answer.
Yeah, well, I've consistently fought for small businesses, so I'll continue to be that fighter. Small business is the backbone of the American economy, and certainly that of the 2nd Congressional District. I learned that from my family. Everybody in my family has been a small business owner at some point in their life. And the struggle that small businesses face, they need a champion. And I know how important it is for them to have a champion. So we need to distribute aid to small businesses, especially minority-owned businesses that are disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. I've passed legislation in the past providing tax credits to keep and grow our music industry right here in New Orleans, and passed legislation creating the Greater New Orleans Biosciences District to facilitate the creation of thousands of high-paying jobs. And so I think we need to level the playing field and make sure that our small businesses are supported. So as your Congresswoman, I will support Kirsten Gillibrand's Restaurant Act. That's going to provide a lot of local independent restaurants with the dollars they need to continue to get our families and our employees back to work. And I'll also be a champion for these issues across the board for small businesses, because the jobs are important to sustain our community.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Carter-Peterson. We're about midway through. We're now going to go to what's called the rapid fire round. It's really just a yes or no question. We're going to start with you, Ms. Carter-Peterson. Yes or no? Should the governor lift the mask mandate like our neighboring states of Mississippi or Texas? Yes or no?
Absolutely not. I want people to stay safe.
Okay, Mr. Chambers, yes or no, should the governor lift the mask mandate?
No.
All right, let's start this off with you, Mr. Chambers. Do you support Mayor LaToya Cantrell here in New Orleans, her move to phase 3 over the past week? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Carter Peterson, same question. Do you support Mayor Cantrell's move into phase 3 last week? Yes or no?
Yes, I think she's been smart this entire time.
All right, let's start this question off with you. Jefferson Parish is also in the 2nd Congressional District. Should leaders there have moved to phase 3 given the fact that they have a relatively high positivity rate? Yes or no, Ms. Carter Peterson?
I think they probably should have followed Mayor Cantrell.
All right, Mr. Chambers, same question. Jefferson Parish also in this district. Should leaders there have moved to phase 3 given the fact that they have a relatively high positivity rate? Yes or no?
Depends on how many people are vaccinated. I can't give you a yes or no to that.
All right. Well, you're going to get a chance to do a yes or no for this one right here. We're going to start this with you. Did former President Donald Trump incite the riot at the Capitol on January 6th? Yes or no?
Absolutely, he did.
All right, Ms. Carter Peterson, did former President Donald Trump incite the riot at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th? Yes or no?
There's no question that he was the chief inciter.
All right, we're going to start this question with you. Ms. Carter Peterson, would you have voted to impeach? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Chambers, same question. Would you have voted to impeach? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Another yes or no. Do you support the Biden administration's proposed moratorium on offshore drilling? Mr. Chambers, yes or no?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Carter Peterson, yes or no about offshore drilling? It's a big issue in Louisiana.
Yes. In order to do the environmental impact studies, it's important.
All right, here's a question for you, Ms. Carter Peterson. Are you in favor of recreational marijuana with the state benefiting from sales tax revenue? Yes or no?
Yes, I think it's a smart move for the criminal justice system as well as for the economy.
All right, Mr. Chambers, yes or no? Are you in favor of recreational marijuana with the state benefiting from sales tax revenue? Yes or no?
Yes, we need to legalize at the federal level and the state level.
All right, now we're going to get back to questions here, and there's a personal pointed question for each one of you. We're going to start off with you, Ms. Carter Peterson. Back in 2019, you were cited for entering a casino for violating a self-imposed ban and then admitted to having a gambling problem. How can voters know that problem is in your past? You have 60 seconds.
Well, the first thing is I never gambled away anybody's money but my own. I have dealt with the effects of this addiction, because that's what it is, for many years, and I'm blessed to have a strong support network, and I regularly attend meetings. So here's what my fight in addiction has taught me. Addiction is the result of mental health challenges that many people face. And this is one of the reasons why I fight so hard to get quality health care, because it's so personal to me. Everyone should have access to quality health care, and that includes comprehensive mental health services. And so that's what I would say, Travers. Nothing to worry about. I'm still leading and fighting.
No, thank you very much. Mr. Chambers, here's a pointed question for you. You essentially have no political experience, and you live in Baton Rouge. This seat has been held by a New Orleanian for more than 50 years. Hale Boggs, Lindy Boggs, Bill Jefferson, Joseph Giles, Cedric Richmond. How can voters in New Orleans and neighboring Jefferson Parish know that if elected, you'll be there for them? You have 60 seconds.
You can be the congressman from New Orleans and ignore Baton Rouge and the river parishes, but you can't be the congressman from Baton Rouge and ignore New Orleans or Jefferson. You make up 44% of the district in Orleans and 20 in Jefferson. Louisiana ranks number 50 in the nation, right? And so when we talk about having someone from New Orleans represent us, it doesn't matter your geography. It matters what are you going to get done for the people. We've got two career politicians here who've served 20 and 30 years that our state still ranks 50. That means dead last. I think it's time to give somebody maybe from a different zip code the opportunity to lead, because the people in that zip code haven't prioritized you in the first place.
All right, Mr. Chambers, we're going to go back to questions here. We're going to start this one with you. Now let's talk about the infrastructure issues that are facing New Orleans and Baton Rouge. If elected, what is your plan to secure more federal funding for crumbling infrastructure in places like New Orleans and Baton Rouge? You have 60 seconds.
Well, I think President Biden is going to bring a pretty large infrastructure bill. I think that we can look forward to that. And then it's about working with our partners to figure out what are the priorities. We need to have a regional conversation for Louisiana and talk about what are all of our infrastructure needs in this second congressional district. In Donaldsonville, for instance, they need gas lines replaced in Donaldsonville in the White Castle area. People in Orleans are struggling with flooding as well as crumbling streets. There's $2 billion that Mayor Cantrell is attempting to get on the streets. We want to help her get those resources out and then get more resources in the hands of local leaders so that they can make the decisions that are necessary to build our infrastructure up. I think there's a golden opportunity in these next 2 years, and I'm going to fight for it every day.
All right, Ms. Carter-Peterson, same question. If elected, what is your plan to secure more federal funding for crumbling infrastructure in cities like New Orleans and Baton Rouge? Just like Mr. Chambers, you have 60 seconds.
Thank you. I think that it's really important that Biden administration has already announced just this week that that's the next move. The first priority was COVID relief, and the second priority is an infrastructure bill. Too often in the last administrations at the federal level, we've not been able to get an infrastructure bill through, no matter who the president has been. And so it's really important for us to come together. This is an opportunity for bipartisanship to really address the needs, as you said, in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, as well as in the river parishes. It is important to get that done for the ports. It's important for roads and bridges, and even more important for broadband. It's a real opportunity to invest in broadband and expand virtual learning opportunities, but also to help not just the school system, but our rural communities who are not having access to not just virtual learning, but internet access is so fundamental to many of us, but it's not been accessible. And so building that infrastructure for broadband should be a priority, and I will be fighting for it.
All right, Ms. Carter-Peterson, here's a 30-second answer. We're going to start this one with you. What's your plan to get federal dollars to cash-strapped local law enforcement agencies? And do you support police reforms? Again, 30 seconds.
Yes, I absolutely support police reforms, and I think that the Department of Justice, thank goodness we have a new Attorney General with Merrick Garland, who's just been confirmed. We're going to have a lot more success when it comes to community policing. I think that our law enforcement officers certainly need to be wearing more cameras, body cameras. We also need more training. And I think that funding is certainly been prioritized by the Biden-Harris administration. So I look forward to those dollars flowing to Baton Rouge Police Department, New Orleans Police Department, and our sheriffs all throughout the district.
All right, same question, Mr. Chambers, in 30 seconds. What is your plan to get more federal dollars to cash-strapped local law enforcement agencies? And do you support police reform efforts? 30 seconds.
Number one, I absolutely support police reform. I helped change the use of force policy for the Baton Rouge Police Department here after the murder of Alton Sterling. Number two, I live in a parish that has 11 different police agencies with hundreds of millions of dollars in resources to those police agencies. I think we need to send resources to communities to solve the core issues of poverty that create crime in our communities. More cops is not the solution to crime, and more money to policing is not going to solve it. There are 11 different police agencies in East Baton Rouge Parish, and there's more homicides in the last year than in any year before. More money to cops won't fix our crime.
All right, Mr. Chambers, we're going to start this one off with you. As Democrats in a red state with the entire delegation except for this district made up of GOP members, can you work across the aisle for the betterment of Louisiana? Mr. Chambers, in 60 seconds, give us an example of how you could do that.
Well, I can give you an example of how we got it done. Here in Baton Rouge, when they attempted to move the zoo out of North Baton Rouge, we organized and went to every zip code that we could in this parish and met with Republicans, Democrats, black, white. We had 2 Republican mayors here, 2 Democrat mayors here sign on in agreement with us, and we fought to keep the Baton Rouge Zoo located in North Baton Rouge in a divested community. And now there's $300 million of resources coming in, and 25% of those resources are going to minority-owned businesses, black-owned businesses. That's the work of helping people without ever being elected. I'm going to keep that same level of fight and energy as we go forward, but I'm also going to work vigorously to turn this state blue. I believe that the Democratic Party needs to be awakened in this state. We've lost state Senate seats. We've lost House seats under previous leadership of the state party. And in order for us to move forward, we've got to have a leader that's on the ground building and connecting from the grassroots level to build this party back up so we can make Louisiana blue.
All right, Ms. Carter-Peterson, same question as Democrats in a red state. The entire delegation, except for this district, is GOP members. Can you work across the aisle and in 60 seconds give us an example of how you plan to do that?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course I can work across the aisle. That's what I've been doing as a legislative leader. I've served as the chair of the Insurance Committee, served as the chair of the Hurricane Recovery Committee. An example of when I did that was after Hurricane Katrina. Republicans and Democrats came together because disaster doesn't have a party. It's not labeled as red or blue. And we all came together to hold government accountable and to make sure that people could rebuild their lives and their homes. I believe that all people deserve an opportunity to be safe, to be healthy, to be educated, and to have access to employment opportunities with wages that provide them with an opportunity to care for their families. When the Republicans will work with me to get that done, I look forward to doing.
All right, really quickly, last question before we get to closing statements here. In a phrase, Ms. Carter-Peterson, hurricane season is fast approaching. What is the most vulnerable area in the 2nd Congressional District? Just in a phrase, if you can.
In a phrase, boy, I tell you what, with a lot of the areas haven't been hit in recent years, I think most of the district is vulnerable from Baton Rouge to New Orleans, and we have to continue to ensure that we get the resources and the funding needed to avoid floods and to minimize the impact of floods over time. So I think the entire district is vulnerable. It just depends on where the wind is blowing and where the weather conditions are in a given storm.
Mr. Chambers, really quickly, in a phrase, about 20 seconds like that, what's the most vulnerable area of the district for a hurricane?
The entire state of Louisiana is vulnerable for a hurricane, not just the 2nd Congressional District. We've got to learn how to live with water and have better water management plans. And I'm going to go to D.C. and fight for that to happen for our state.
All right. We're now going to get to closing statements. Because we started with you, Ms. Carter-Peterson, we're going to start with Mr. Chambers. Mr. Chambers, you have 30 seconds to make a closing statement and let voters know why you feel you're the best candidate for them. 30 seconds again.
I'm the best candidate for you because I'm for you. And every day in Congress, I'm going to fight for the people. One of the senators skipped out on tonight's debate because he didn't want to come to the job interview. The other senator's been elected for 20 years and done a good job in some ways, but Louisiana ranks number 50 in the nation. I'm asking you, what did you get for the vote that you gave? What's the return on investment? I'm 35, I'm a fighter and a change agent. And every day that I go to D.C., I'm going to do good and seek justice for the people of Louisiana. Opportunities have to come to our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carter-Peterson. You have 30 seconds to make a closing statement.
Thank you so much. This election is about the fight for our lives, a fight we cannot lose. And as your Congresswoman, I pledge that I will never forget who I am and where I came from. I'm blessed to be Ken and Gwen's daughter, who grew up in the 7th Ward in Uptown. My mother spent the early years juggling 2 and 3 jobs so she could put my dad through law school. And I learned the value of hard work from my parents. I've dedicated myself to public service. I believe that all people deserve an opportunity to be safe, healthy, educated, and have access to a good job that will pay wages. I want to serve you in Congress. I want to fight for you. Please go vote on Saturday, number 5.
All right. Karen Carter-Peterson, Gary Chambers, thank you all both for being here. And don't forget, please go out and vote on March 20th. Polls are open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. You can count on WDSU to bring you all of the coverage on air and online. Plus, we have much more coverage on WDSU.com right now, including videos from other candidates in the 2nd Congressional District race. They're answering questions from you, our viewers. So once again, thank you for watching. Election Day is on Saturday.
On the